Welcome to Health Talk. Thank you for joining us. Today's topic is cybersecurity and medical devices. And we have with us today Kevin Liu, Laura Billard, and Dr. Mary Rithu. Today we're going to talk about medical devices. What are medical devices? Pacemakers, insulin pumps, wearables, Fitbit, all the wearables like such as the iPhone watches, the Samsung watches, all of them. Testing by remote, such as testing your Holter monitor by remote, testing your heartbeat by buying a software app. You put your fingers on the iPhone and test your heart rate. All devices that involve your health. And why do we care? Well, cybersecurity costs millions of dollars of ransomware. They hold hospitals as hostage by shutting down their systems. So tell us today, Dr. Rithu, what do you think about devices such as the Hospira cancer infusion pump? Tell us about that.
Exactly. This Hospira infusion pumps are pumps which are installed on patients who get their chemotherapy doses, like cancer patients who are on chemotherapy. So this infusion pumps actually put up on the patient. They get chemotherapy every month, depending on how many cycles they want, and it actually dispenses the amount of medications. So this is actually automatically controlled, so the doctor or the medical provider could actually monitor it from being away from the patient, either from their home at times, because these are chemotherapy patients and they have a regular schedule, so they don't have to be at the
or they're at the doctor's office and an oncology practice. Usually they're in a separate room called the infusion room.
Yeah, exactly.
And the doctor is on premise, but the doctor is not right immediately
patient,
next to the patient. So what happens is that, for example, if it's supposed to be only 100 milligrams, what if the machine delivers 1,000 milligrams?
Yeah, actually chemotherapy, as you know, these are already sick patients and they are fighting for the disease. So in a dosage of 100, and if you give 1,000, that can even, that dosage can also affect the normal cells, because we are targeting the infected or the cancerous cells. But when you give a dosage of 1,000, that can cause a lot of side effects for the patients.
Or they could immediately die.
Yes.
Or have serious consequences, then they cannot deliver a blockage chemical to block this attacking the system, because it's going straight into the vein or straight into a catheter that's pre-placed.
Yes.
So this is also dangerous. Now, what about, Laura, you were telling us about the various devices that are all on the mobile. How is that hackable?
Yes, so they have created devices so that you can monitor your heart rate at home. The problem here is that all the information collected will go straight to a phone that then goes to the doctor. And because of those 2 points of communication, there is a lot of possibilities for hacking and data mining.
So tell us, the home audience, what is data mining?
Data mining is collecting your information to then sell to another third party who may have some malevolent uses for that data.
So, for example, let's say I'm wearing a Holter monitor because they think I have a skipped heart rate. And they paste this metallic little card onto me, and I'm supposed to wear it. And then I have to just live my normal life. How could this be hacked into?
Well, it can be hacked into through the communications between that patch and your phone, and then the data could be used to sell to other parties who would want to possibly
make it seem high or low, make it fake.
Exactly, and alter it, and then cause more problems for you, or even maybe for the rest of the population once they know they can do that.
So can I do that at a hot spot 30 feet away from people, like at Starbucks? Can I do that? Or at where there's free wireless?
Yes, absolutely.
So where do we get free wireless? Let's think. Airport, where else?
Malls. Stadiums.
Stadiums, wherever there's free wireless. You think it's free, but everything, you get what you pay for. So remember that. So anywhere where there's a lot of people, you're 30 feet away, somebody could just be playing with their little mobile device. Or, as you said once, that there could be some other person on the internet far away creating a fake hotspot. Tell us about that.
Yes, essentially, a person far away could use a hotspot as a proxy, meaning that they can be far away from the location they're hacking and just going through the internet to get to that spot where somebody could be sitting with their medical device, their computer, anything, and then can be hacked remotely.
Now, as I said once, you know, we're reading the New York Times, and there was the company Muddy Waters that decided to, that was a company in Great Britain. They do research for Wall Street and big Fortune 500 companies. They decided to look at St. Jude pacemaker, and they found that there was a glitch in their software. Not that any patient was ever hurt by this. They published this and they made the stock fall artificially. So they made their customers make money because they shorted the stock, they got the stock to fall, they manipulated the market by exposing this. So they hired somebody to hack into this for this. So somebody was making money on this. So there could be hackers who want to show that your medical device is perfectly okay for now, but there is a flaw, but they want to move the markets. They want to change it so they can just short the stock and tell all their clients, short the stock for one day, make millions of dollars, and make the device company go out of business or be in trouble with the FDA. So there are all these reasons why people want to hack or why hackers exist. For example, hackers exist in 3 categories. People who just do it for fun, they have nothing else to do, college students, high school students. They have hackathons. If you're #1 hackathon high school student, you get accepted into MIT, Stanford, Harvard. They want you to hack. So think about this. We're creating a generation of hackers. Then #2, you have people who hack, go into the dark web, and then they sell this data to get money, ransomware. So for example, they can hold a hospital chain in Southern California, for example, in 2016, and they asked for a paltry amount of $17,000. So obviously, the Southern California hospital paid the $17,000 to unlock their computers. They blocked the access of all computer screens from all the nursing personnel, doctor personnel, all healthcare personnel, and therefore patients' lives were affected. And then there was another hack in 2016, MedStar, Washington, D.C., 12 hospitals, including some big hospitals. They compromised 100,000 patient records over a 12 hospital range. They wanted something like $200,000 to be paid in Bitcoin. And the hospital chain refused to pay because the FBI advised them not to pay. And so that shut down the hospital. They actually had to shut down the emergency room. And then there was another hack where 650,000 medical records were compromised in the Midwest, Georgia, and Missouri. And they wanted $450,000, again, to be paid in Bitcoin. And Anthem Blue Cross, which was 1 million records compromised. And again, that was ransomware. And they thought that they just stole the records to sell to another criminal group to get fake credit card numbers. So there are many reasons why people want to hack. It's usually for money. It has not reached the proportion that people want to terrorize the American hospital system and shut them all nationwide, although the FBI is clearly aware of this and people are worried. And thankfully, the FDA has put in many more encryption, passwords, blocking hackers, so we're only one step ahead. Thus, it's important for the home audience and all of us as stakeholders. We are patients, we're doctors, we have loved ones who are patients, that we read the 800 number of all our devices, call them if we have any questions, be aware of these things, and if there's anything wrong with your hospital record, encrypted or not encrypted, it should be encrypted. If you have questions, let the hospital know. We want to know. We want to protect your records. We don't want to have them freely accessible. And luckily for all of us whose social security numbers have been stolen, probably all of us have our social security number stolen at least once. The banks have encrypted it many times, so they can no longer get into our bank accounts. Now, one of the things that we should be aware of, what is the dark web? Tell us, the home audience, what's the dark web?
So the dark web is essentially this place on the internet that does not use one of your traditional browsers like Safari or Chrome. It's an entire
You mean
browser on its
Google
own.
Chrome?
Yes. It's a browser on its own, and it makes the users untraceable, and it's where a lot of illegal services and products and information can be exchanged for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin.
So Bitcoin is very popular simply because the dark web is popular. We just don't know about it because we're just busy being doctors and people, but there is a criminal element. Tell us about Fitbit. That's a wearable device. What does that tell us? What information could they glean from it?
So Fitbit is an activity tracker that would display the calories you burn, the steps you take in, even your sleep activity as well. Before the older models, they would connect to your phone via Bluetooth, and as a result, that's how you would view those biometrics.
Oh, so you could find out when they're not sleeping, they can invade your house, or when you are sleeping to invade your house.
Yeah, so how the sleep tracker works is that when you're in a certain position for a long period of time, that's considered sleeping.
Because you could be tracking people and figure out when to invade their house. This is like the Internet of Things. So if you're a person, you're a contractor going to somebody's house, you could hack into it and you could know everything about that person and unlock their doors. You can get their codes. So people there who are thinking about the Internet of Things, think about that. You have to call the 800 number to make sure it is encrypted. How do you know a criminal can't get in? Or what is it that makes you vulnerable? And the FDA wants us to be aware that all the companies are trying to work on the vulnerability aspects to block certain vulnerable points. But we as consumers, we as patients, we have to tell them, oh, by the way, it malfunctioned when this occurred. And they would then have better data how to protect you and everybody else who's using a pacemaker or a medical device. Now, insulin pumps are particularly a problem. Dr. Ritu, you're an internist. Tell us how insulin pumps, what hacking means and what that means for patients who have them and the loved ones who have to take care of them.
Absolutely. As you know, insulin pumps are being used by a lot of patients now. About 1 million people are on insulin pumps because of diabetes. And how this works is the insulin pump has two essential components, one being the pump itself, the other is the meter, the insulin meter, which reads the patient's blood glucose values and then automatically signals the pump to dispense the insulin. So once the patient's value is high, it will automatically signal what amount of insulin it has to deliver to the patient. So the communication between the two is actually not encrypted. Sometimes it can be wireless and it cannot fall under the standard protocols. So sometimes it lacks encryption. So an outsider could come into this and access it because it uses wireless, and then they can manipulate the values of the insulin, and then it can signal wrong values, which is not the patient's exact values, and dispense insulin at a low dose continuously. And then this can pose certain risks to the patient, like putting the patient's blood values so low because it's been continuously dispensing insulin. So the blood sugar values will drop enormously, and the patient can have serious complications like low blood sugar, such as hypoglycemic event, where the patient can go in for syncope, they can throw in a fit, or sometimes they can just drop dead. So it's essential that the loved ones or educate the patient about these complications, because when they are on an insulin pump, and always tell their loved ones, or at least tell the patient, to always carry some juices or snacks with them in the event.
Yes, orange juice, always.
Yes.
Especially if your loved one has an insulin pump, they're in a
Yes.
large group, because you
Yes.
don't know who's hacking what.
Yes.
And you don't know, or even if you have taken children who are type 1 diabetic, they're going to a large birthday party area where there's multiple birthday parties, and you don't know if people are just hacking to be evil or just hacking for the fun of it because they feel that they have power and control. And you don't know if they're hacking from Czechoslovakia, and they're just you just happen to be unfortunate that your pump is going to be hacked into. So always carry orange juice, crackers, because high blood sugar you cannot die immediately. But low blood sugar, if the insulin pump malfunctions, too much insulin is given, you can go into just fainting and never waking up, into a coma, and by the time that the ambulance arrives, your loved one is seriously at risk. That's very unfortunate. So everybody read the 800 number on your devices. Make sure you are aware of everything, what to do, what to call. Wear it on your health bracelet, carry it in your card, on your wallet, because you have to be prepared, because the person who is at risk may not be able to talk. They may be lying on the ground. So you have to be prepared for them. Now, about the wearables, like there's certain, like the iPhone and the Samsung wearables, all the watch wearables, that's a very powerful battery. It operates wirelessly. It does things. You can talk to it. It can open doors and all that. So how can you hack into this?
So with these wireless devices, wearable devices, they can be hacked through various methods because they have this wireless capabilities, and since they're less sophisticated compared to a smartphone, they're especially exploitable. One case in which it's very alarming. One way technology is advancing is payment. So there's Apple Pay, Chase Pay, ways in which you can pay without using your physical credit card.
When they steal those numbers.
Yeah, and now Fitbit has their own method of payment as well, and especially with the Fitbit devices, they're less sophisticated compared to a smartphone, so they don't have necessarily that same level of protection that you would have when you're paying using Chase Pay or Apple Pay using your phone. So I think
less encryption. And encryption for software engineers, it's a higher level of knowledge. People who do encryption are kind of specialized software engineers. And that's why they're all in business in Silicon Valley. They're all here. But it's harder to encrypt something. It's a challenge for these companies, device companies, to make it harder and harder and harder. And the hackers, are just one step behind. They're just as clever. Because to hack, you have to be pretty clever, because you have to unencrypt, so you're going backwards. It's like Ginger Rogers dancing backwards to Fred Astaire. So it is an interesting problem. Be careful about all these things. Read the little package inserts and call the 800 number. Be aware. The other thing that is important to know is that people are worried that hackers can hack into cars and stop your engine, do really bad things, blow them up, hold Tesla, Ford, everybody, ransomware, that they can try to do that. And so it's very interesting that we cannot go backward in time and buy a Model T, of course, but just to let you know that it's very important to see that everything that is wireless is good. It helps us live better lives. But call the 800 number. Be aware. The other thing that's very interesting about medical devices is that children are wearing them. You know, children are wearing these watches. That's like a GPS.
Yes.
Somebody could steal your child.
Yep.
Somebody could, you know, you really have to be careful, because somebody's going to hack into this and know the whereabouts of all sorts of things and know everything about that one child, you know, because you have to learn how to disable it. You have to learn how to protect yourself. And I think some of the current insulin pumps, you can disable your wireless when you're going someplace. You can, you have a choice. Not all of them. You have to ask, you have to call. And for the pacemaker devices, there's 60 device manufacturers in America. Think of how many there are in China, in Germany, in India. So they all have different standards. And when they're traveling in airports, you have to be aware of the particular numbers that each of these devices have. So everyone at home who has a device, carry that Medtronic card or the St. Jude's card. Carry that with you. Carry this so that when you go from here to France, to Italy, to India, and something happens, you go to the ER, they have this card. This helps them enormously to program it quickly without calling the 1-800 number. What if there's a power outage and they can't make the phone call? So you need to know. You have to be empowered carrying these devices. It's a brave new world. We have to be careful because people want to hack into all these things. Now, tell us again a little bit about if we were wanting to create a deep web address and be mean and evil, how could we do this?
Well, there are many applications and resources on the internet that will let you be able to access the deep web and hide your identity. Many of these applications, so for any individual on the internet, they have a static IP address which is able to identify your location.
So tell the home audience, what is a static IP address?
A static IP address is a series of numbers that indicates your location.
I believe when you buy a computer, it comes with an IP address. So every computer you buy has a different IP address. So what if you're just dumb and you just buy new computers and switch it around? Can they trace it?
Likely, well, it's tied to your internet provider.
So that's how they can trace you. So if you wanted to disappear and create 10 Facebook accounts and do bad things, what do you do then? You go to...
So you would be able to access these resources, these programs that will be able to mask your IP address, and how these programs do that is that they use different IP addresses from different geographical areas. So for 1 minute you can have an IP address that will indicate that you're in China. The next minute you could be indicated that you're in Australia.
Oh, and this is how you can make fake Yelp ads against doctors, because you could have many IP addresses and say weird things or say good things, and create a company saying, I will improve your reputation for healthcare. Very interesting. I like this. Okay, and so if people who hack also do this, obviously, because they want to be anonymous. And so that's why the rise of cryptocurrency, right? Because they don't want their money to be traced. And cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, has the best encryption, which is blockchain. And I know that healthcare systems such as the big EHR, Epic, all the big ones that do the big hospitals, they're going towards that type of encryption. So to the home audience, we are getting better and better protection day by day, minute by minute. We just have to hang in there. And also be aware and call the hospitals and call your doctor if you feel that there is a lapse in EHR, because the healthcare administrators, the physician, may not know there's a little blip, and they may not know it's been hacked into, and it has to be patched. So tell us also, if you were a millennial and you were just having fun time surfing the web and being evil, why is this considered fun to hack?
Well, just to see if you can do it. What would you think?
Well, there are, as I said, hackathons. So the industry, the software industry, wants to find hackers amongst talented high school students, because if you can hack, you can then encrypt. So it's a double-edged sword. People who can hack can encrypt. People who can encrypt can hack. And it's a big business in Silicon Valley. They're very valuable because every time there is a breakdown in software, in major hospital chains, they have to hire these experts and to find out how to patch that problem, because it's sometimes too hard to throw out the entire software. And this is one of the problems that the FDA has found, is that how can we make medical devices accessible to patients and have the innovations come in a timely manner, and yet block all the hacks. So it's like one step one step ahead of the criminals. We want our patients to have the latest technology, like they can live their lives, have wireless insulin pump delivery of insulin for type 1 diabetics, yet we want them protected. We want them safe, have better lives. So it is a conundrum. How can we do that? So it's important that if we have loved ones who have medical devices and maybe they're in their 80s and they don't know, and you're the millennial grandchild, call up the 800 number for them. Find out and be aware. So to wrap up, for our home audience, what do you think is important for us to know? One sentence.
I believe that awareness, especially with cybersecurity, is definitely the right step, a step in the right direction.
And for you, one sentence for the home audience?
Make sure not to share your personal information and passwords with other people who could share it with other people themselves.
And take home one sentence?
Exactly. And as a medical provider, make sure that as a patient, if you have a medical device, immediately report it to your medical provider. Bring it to notice. Bring it up.
Don't just sit there and say,
Yeah.
oh, I'm in chest pain, and we don't know
Exactly.
why. But,
Yeah.
you know, it could be two
Bring
reasons.
it up and then bring it to notice so that we are aware of it and then we can report it to the higher authorities.
Yes. And if there's always a 1-800 number
Yes.
on all devices to call 24/7, it's one of the requirements. So thank you so much for joining us. We think this has been a great talk, great topic, and it is here to stay. We have to be careful of all our passwords and don't talk to anybody about your passwords or even tell them you have a device, because you don't know who you're talking to. Some
Exactly.
stranger in the airport. Oh, you have a device? You don't know if they're a criminal. They're in the dark web wanting to be paid in Bitcoin. Thank you. If you like this show, go to KSAR TV, make a donation. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. Thank you very much.